Well, actually, before Sakshi, you started, I noticed that the session is called Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. Is there a show of hands? How many of you have watched the movie?
At least 100 times, I would say.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, the fact that most of us are millennials in the room, at least if not by age, by heart. So, the fact is, this movie has taught us a lot of life lessons. It's been a crash course to life philosophy, and why I relate, it's interesting, the title and why all six of us are sitting here, is the character of Hrithik Roshan. This hot, handsome dude, financially sorted, focused, on trip, working while he's skydiving. And yet, after the trip, also he's back, able to manage his finances. Sarthak, I want to come to you. Can this kind of Hrithik Roshan character actually exist in real life?
I would think it is existing. Whether how sustainability or not is the question. And I think the reason I say that is you look at the stats, they're out there that 70% of the iPhones in India are actually bought on EMIs. You know, there are a total of roughly 4 crore iPhones in India right now, 1 crore bought in the past 12 months. I think it was just in the news yesterday where it said 27% of all vacations being taken this year are on EMIs. And that was so surprising for me because the 70% EMI for iPhones news is something I'd consumed a year and a half ago and I'd come to accept it. But this 27% vacations on EMIs is quite a shocker. And I think when we read this, as Rachna mentioned, I think there's a lot of generational wealth being passed on where Gen Z doesn't really have to care for or save for buying a house because their parents are kind of giving it to them in inheritance. And adding to that, when there's so much of social media exposure, you know, even if assuming just 15% of the people are getting generational wealth, the remaining 85% being part of that ecosystem and getting so exposed to people buying the latest Jordans or the Sambas suddenly feel like now with this zero cost EMI, it's easily accessible to me. So just to be able to fit in or to be cool, why should I not do it? And you know, that social peer pressure is so high, which thankfully didn't exist back when we guys were growing up in school. So I wouldn't want to blame them, but I think I would also draw your attention to the fact that India is right now at about $3,000 per capita GDP. And this is historically study any economy of the world, and it tells you that this is exactly the benchmark where it's an inflection point where discretionary spend just skyrockets. And I think that's exactly what is happening because at this point, there is that sweet spot of percentage of the population getting generational wealth that everyone else in peer pressure starts consuming a lot more. And I think that consumption story is also why everyone's betting on India because 60% of our GDP or more is purely consumption.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good while it's also bad.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're in a tricky spot.
Mukul, I'll come to you on that. So tell me, this age of instant gratification where nobody wants to wait for later.